I'll stop singing, my lord. Kumbaya. When you click the links in the description, kumbaya. I'll stop singing, my lord. Kumbaya. Click the link in the description, kumbaya. I'll stop singing, my lord. Kumbaya. I'll stop singing, my lord. Kumbaya.
Well, it was Quentin's ninth movie, and the old folks wished him well. Hey, party people. Before we go too far into the review, I just forgot to mention the trailer part of it. So what happened before the movie. So I get to the movie theater. It's reserved seating. I hate reserved seating. Reserved seating is stupid. I ended up in a seat that wasn't my own, and it was whatever because I'm not gonna bother somebody for a seat because they got there. It was stupid. It was reserved seating is stupid. Okay, listen. Get there when you get there. If you don't get there in time to get the seat that you want, then you just don't get the seat that you want. Sitting there and being like, oh, I want this seat. That's fucking stupid. It's dumb. It's dumb. The old way was fine. Okay? If you are a proponent of reserve seating, you do not use your left and right turn indicators on your car and therefore should be burned alive. Okay? Speaking of which, continue to watch the review. There were a couple of trailers I wanted to make note of. First was The Kitchen. I've seen the trailers for The Kitchen, and I had no interest in seeing The Kitchen because Melissa McCarthy is in it. Now, and it seemed like it was going to be a comedy because Tiffany Haddish is also in it, but it turns out it's a drama, and that it's probably not going to skew whether I actually see it or not because probably still not going to see it. But Common was in it, and I saw him, and like the makeup that he used was a little bit different on his head, and I was like, is that Common? That's that motherfucker. Common isn't everything. You can't escape Common. Common is as ubiquitous as Keanu Reeves is right now. Common has been as ubiquitous in movies as fucking Keanu Reeves is right now, and you can't escape him. All I want to listen. I'm not hating on Common. His music dope. Not gonna hate on Common. All I want to know is who is his agent. How can I get this agent? And why don't I already have this agent? If you know who Common's agent is, y'all need to holler at me. Because I need to be in the background playing a cop on every other movie. Not even every other movie. But a couple of movies. The couple of movies that Common doesn't want to play a cop in, I can play a cop in those movies. Okay? Just one or two a year and I'll be fine. Okay, I'm not a huge client that you have to cater to and all that other stuff. Just give me a sec, give me some Red Bull, I'm good to go. The Mr. Rogers trailer I saw with Tom Hanks, and I am not impressed. Tom Hanks looked like he was doing a Mr. Rogers impression on SNL. It did not grab me. Not excited for it. The chick next to me was like, oh, and I'm like, really, you basic pumpkin spice latte chick, you're fucking over this. I love Tom Hanks, love Mr. Rogers. Saw Won't You Be My Neighbor? It was an amazing documentary. Everybody needs to see it. Bring some tissues. You're gonna cry. But especially after seeing the real thing, this is bad. It's a bad impression. I get it. Tom Hanks is one of the most nice guys in Hollywood. So's Henry Winkler. So's Ron Howard. I don't want to see either one of them playing Mr. Rogers either. This doesn't work. It feels so forced. Tom Hanks' performance in this trailer seems so forced. So forced. So, doing the out of $15 thing for The Kitchen, out of $15, 0 out of $15. Y'all know why. For Won't You Be, or It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Honestly, $6 out of $15. I'm not impressed. Maybe there's gonna be something else that comes up, but I mean they use the puppets. It all seems so cookie cutter too. It all seems so cookie cutter. I'm gonna bring that down. That's a 5. out of $15. I'm gonna say 5 out of $15 for It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I know it's probably already getting praise. I know people are already saying Oscar, 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 but no. Watch it again. He looks like he's doing a bad not a bad Mr. Rogers impression. It looks like he's doing Tom Hanks pretending to be Mr. Rogers at a party. He doesn't look like he's actually embodying the role of Mr. Rogers. He just doesn't. I don't buy it. I so don't buy it at all. I don't buy it at all. And it may be one of those things where Tom Hanks' star power overshadows who he's playing, but it doesn't work. There was also a trailer for Gemini Men. Whatever. Will Smith. It's Looper with Will Smith in it. That doesn't look great either. That's a 3 out of 15. That doesn't look great either. What other trailers? That was all that I can remember. Oh, Charlie's Angels, 0 out of 15. That shit, terrible. 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 And whoever cut this trailer to try to make us believe that Kristen Stewart has any semblance of a personality or any semblance of sex appeal at all with her whipping her own ass in that trailer. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. 0 out of 15 for Charlie's Angels. Don't even get that whack shit out of here. Now, on to the review. So, party people in the place to be, what's going on? It's me. I just got out of the theater after seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We're gonna do it like this. We're gonna do non-spoiler stuff first. We're gonna talk about points in the movie, and then I'm gonna give you the rating at the end. I came in knowing absolutely nothing about this movie. I mean absolutely nothing other than Leo DiCaprio was in it, Brad Pitt was in it, Margot Robbie was in it, and Quentin Tarantino did it. That's literally all I knew. That's all I needed to know. They got my money. And I'm not sure how much of this is a spoiler because the trailers that I watched really didn't give away any of the story, or the trailer that I watched when it dropped really didn't give away any of the story. It was mostly about Brad Pitt and Leo DiCaprio. And that was really what this movie was about, really. It was really kind of about their friendship more than anything else. The movie just culminated in an event in a very Tarantino way. The performances were good. Can't say anything bad about the performances. The cinematography and direction was interesting. Less than stellar. I'm gonna say less than stellar. They did fantastic with the world building, but they did too much, in my opinion, of the world building. It's Brad Pitt essentially doing the Inglourious Basterds accent for the majority of the movie. Leo DiCaprio essentially doing the Django Unchained, a little toned down version of the Django Unchained accent, and Margot Robbie not really doing a lot. Margot Robbie just kind of standing there looking pretty. But it worked. It worked for what it worked for. I would honestly say it's probably not the strongest It's definitely not the strongest Tarantino movie. It's definitely not the strongest movie from all of these performers. But I don't know what else to say. Non-spoiler. There it is. I don't know what else to say non-spoiler. So now we're getting into spoilers. If you don't want to know anything about it, don't get the fuck off the video. Just skip to this location in the video, that time point in the video. Have you skipped there yet? Have you clicked the little clicky thing yet? Have you gotten there yet? Good, because you got 3, 2, 1. This movie is about the Charlie Manson tape murders, except it's not. It really is about the friendship / working relationship between these two guys, between DiCaprio and Pitt. DiCaprio is the actor. Pitt is his stuntman, who is more like his friend, or at least becomes closer to him after DiCaprio loses his his driving privileges from too many drunk driving tickets. This all takes place in the late 60s, so drunk driving was a ticketed offense, not a lose your license, lose your livelihood offense. So Brad Pitt is near the end of his career, or not Brad Pitt. Actually, Brad Pitt is at the end of his career because it's alleged that he killed his wife. DiCaprio says it was an accident on a boat. I don't know if that's an allusion to another Hollywood murder, the Woods case. I don't know if it's an allusion to that, but Brad Pitt and his wife were on a boat. She was bitch at him. He had a spear gun in his hand. That's pretty much all you see. So we don't know what happened, but it's alluded to that he did her in on the boat, but we don't know what happened. So DiCaprio is trying to help his friend out, trying to make sure that he gets jobs if he can, possibly. There's some Hollywood quote-unquote stories in it, like Brad Pitt's character gets into an on-set fight with Bruce Lee for quite literally no reason. Get out of the fucking road. He meets with Al Pacino, who's trying to get him parts in spaghetti westerns in Italy that he doesn't want to do. DiCaprio was a oh wow, the sun is right fuck there. All right, I'll just drive like this. So DiCaprio was a Western star on an old TV Western about bounty hunting, and that show ended, and like other actors, especially of that time, he just kind of faded into obscurity after being a big star, and so he goes off. He gets the spaghetti western part. He goes to Italy to do spaghetti westerns. Takes Brad Pitt with him. Meanwhile, the movie does all it can do to tell you this is Sharon Tate, this is Sharon Tate, this is Roman Polanski, this is Roman. They tell you this is Roman Polanski, this is Sharon Tate. Margot Robbie is Sharon Tate, but she doesn't really do anything. She kind of, for the most part, stands there and looks beautiful. And if you've seen the billboards, and here in LA, they're all over the fucking place. All her billboard is her just looking fucking gorgeous. Like, god damn. Like, they are trying to, this movie is desperately telling you Margot Robbie is the most beautiful woman in the world. And it is a hard point to argue against. It is so hard to argue against that point, because goddamn, Margot Robbie is fucking sexy. God, but more than sexy, but different than sexy. Margot Robbie's, they do what they can to make Margot Robbie fucking beautiful. She's like angelic in this movie. But she's Sharon, because she's supposed to be Sharon Tate, and they want to do what they can with Sharon Tate, to the point where there's a scene where DiCaprio is basically filtered into what would have been his part in The Great Escape had he actually won the role, etc., etc. I think they're trying to say that he kind of tested for it or shot a scene for it or something like that. Maybe it was a fantasy, but they insert him into the footage, into the actual footage, and they do it relatively well. With Margot Robbie, she goes to see one of Sharon Tate's movies. Sharon Tate goes to see one of Sharon Tate's movies in one of the local theaters, and they don't insert Margot Robbie. It's Sharon Tate on that screen. Like, she's watching Sharon Tate, she's not watching Margot Robbie, which is an interesting choice that they made. It's a little bit jarring just because we saw them insert DiCaprio, and it's kind of like, okay, are they going to do the same thing with Robbie? But they didn't. It was actually Sharon Tate, and I'm like, I can see why they did that, because they wanted to kind of, make her more angelic, but it was like they didn't. It was weird. It was a little bit. It was not off-putting. It was a little bit. It was incongruent with the rest of the movie, or with the storyline of the rest of the movie. So anyway, Brad Pitt spots this young hitchhiker all over LA, or a couple of times around LA. The third time he sees her, he actually picks her up and takes her back to the Manson Ranch, which he apparently had shot some of the TV show with DiCaprio at. and he was desperate to see the owner there because he saw all the creepy shit that was happening around him. He was like, I don't believe that this guy's still alive, etc., etc. He's kind of, was like, I want to see the owner, I want to meet him, yada yada, blah blah blah. According to this movie, the owner was there and actually jived with the story that the Manson maniacs were telling him. And so he, was trying to leave. They fucking sliced the tire off his car. He made the guy that sliced his tire off his car fucking change the tire by beating him up. And then this guy Tex rode down. Apparently they were giving horseback tours to tourists of LA to come in and see. Shut up. Come in and see the LA landscape. There we go. Come in and see, that's worse. Come in and see the LA landscape on horseback, etc., etc. And he rides it on horseback, but Pitt's already gone. So Pitt leaves. Fast, goes off to Europe. Yada yada. Comes back. It plays out a lot like what actually played out in the Tate murders, right? Manson comes to their house, claiming to look for an old friend of his that used to live in the house, but he, doesn't live there anymore, etc. Essentially, the Manson murders at the Tate compound, because Tate and Polanski literally live next door to DiCaprio. Basically, everything happens. It's all askew. This is all a fantasy. It's all askew. The Manson stuff happens to DiCaprio and not to Tate, and the movie does a lot of misdirect. It's like making you look how beautiful she was and all this other stuff, blah blah. They throw in a little nugget about like her ex-boyfriend hanging around, and like they imply that he's still fucking her. They definitely say that he still wants to fuck her, but they imply that he's still fucking her. While Polanski's off making another movie, which I guess he was in real life with the actual murders. So, and it's too hot in this fucking car, so I'm gonna continue this as we're walking. They go off to Europe. They make the movies. They get some money. DiCaprio gets a wife in Europe, brings her back, and then the Tate murders happen. Askew. The Manson incident happens at DiCaprio's house while Pitt is there after walking his dog while smoking an acid cigarette that he got from the girl that he saw hitchhiking all those times. So he's kind of like in fucking bullet time mode at that point. But he's got this big giant dog that he uses. Him and the dog kill two of them. The wife wakes up. She screams. She punches one of them. The scrawny one. I'm gonna call her the Asian one because she was the Asian one. Because there was an Asian one, a redhead one, the guy Tex, and then there was another one, but she ran off before the incident happened. So the Asian one is mauled by the dog, falls through the window outside where DiCaprio is at the pool. He gets a flamethrower that he used in the movie, burns her alive. This is the point where it turns into a Tarantino flick with ultra violence. Skulls are being crushed, crotches are being chewed out that you fucking see. People are being burned fucking alive for long periods of time. This is where it turns into a Tarantino movie. Other than this, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes of showing us all the landmarks that they bought signage for that looked like 1969 all over LA, and Margot Robbie looking like a fucking angel. Like, that's mixed in with Tarantino's foot fetish, which, hey, we all got kinks, brother. I'm not gonna kink shame you for. Come on, like, there are people who, and there's no kink shaming here. Just, we're very aware, Quentin, that you like feet, and we are very aware in this movie that he likes feet. So there's a couple of different shots of that. The last 15 minutes are good. The last 15 minutes are the Tarantino movie you think you're gonna get. The movie that you think you're going to get with Tarantino. The rest of it has its moments. The movie is too long. It is entirely too long. They did not need to do this story in 2 hours and 40 fucking minutes. It did not need to take them 2 hours and 40 minutes to tell this fucking story. And god damn it, I felt almost all of those 2 hours and 40 minutes. First off, the story itself is weird, right? How they did it. I mean, it's been done before. It's not a new idea. It's Tarantino, of course, it's not a new idea, but it's not a new idea to take, history and put your own spin on it, right? And that's what he did. Instead of the Manson's family going straight, they went just to the right and fucked with the wrong house that night as opposed to fucking with the other house. They did get across a couple of different things. They got across the feeling of actors when they're doing well, when they're doing good, when they're getting the praise that, let's face it, is kind of like a drug. Not just actors, performers in general. It's kind of like a drug. When Sharon Tate goes to the movie and hears the laugh of the audience, you feel that reward from her. When DiCaprio's on the set and he's actually acting sober, and he's acting soberly after a meeting with a young, essentially Fanning-like child, and Dakota Fanning was in this movie, but she's an adult now. But like one of the Fannings, one of the fucking Fannings, what they acted like as kids. He meets one of those and cleans up his act and puts forth one of the best performances of his career at that point, and that helps launch him to different places and stuff like that. That feeling is something that they actually did legitimately get across in the movie. Good for them for doing that. I don't remember seeing Quentin in this movie, and he usually has a cameo. I don't remember seeing him in it, but that doesn't mean he wasn't in it. It just means I don't remember him in it. I'm kind of disappointed. I'm glad I didn't know anything going in. It was easy to pick up on the Sharon Tate Polanski stuff. I guess, in Quentin's world, had, the Manson just gone slightly right, Tarantino wouldn't have fucked a 13-year-old in the ass. What? Did I say that? No, that's not true. Because they made a point to mention that Polanski, that the pseudo-boyfriend of Sharon Tate, the ex-boyfriend, the guy that was there too, that he wanted to stay close to Sharon Tate because he knew that Polanski would fuck up, and when he did, he would come in and slide in and take a spot. So they did make a point to say that Polanski was probably going to do some fucked up shit. They just didn't specify what the fucked up shit was. They could have been just cheating, could have been just, whatever, falling into his work, whatever. But they certainly didn't make Polanski a hero. He was barely an entity at all. He was there. We saw him driving in and out of the house once or twice. That was about it. He was barely a thought after that, at that point, and it was more focused on the Tate part was more focused on her and her pseudo boyfriend. It took a long time to get to that final scene when the final scene happened, when the semifinal, the penultimate, the battle, when the Manson family shows up, and Pitt and his dog and DiCaprio and his wife, just roast and chew and kill the fucking dirty hippies. Crowd came alive. Everybody was laughing. It was a Tarantino flick. It was blood spurts and graphic violence and ultra graphic violence and ridiculously graphic violence that just never would have happened any other place. And red apple cigarettes galore and all this other. It was a Tarantino flick. At that point, getting there was a lot of times a fucking sludge. It did not need to be that long. And I feel like the length of it had a lot to do with the incredible amount of focus that they spent on Sharon Tate. Because I feel like they wanted to misdirect you, but it was like, it didn't make sense on that misdirection. It was like, okay, Tate, there's the Manson family, and the Tate storyline and the DiCaprio Pitt storyline really didn't intersect at all. They were neighbors, but they were going about their lives. They didn't interact at all until really the end of the movie. All in all, this flick, I was not that impressed with it. I'm sorry. It was easily a half hour too long. Even if they had just trimmed 15 minutes of the Tate worship down, fine. There was a lot of nothingness that was going on with like DiCaprio too, and way too much world building. I know I know that they spent a ton of money putting up the signage, getting the right cars on the freeways and the streets, shutting down streets. I'm sure they had to shut down streets because there was no modern cars or signage or anything anywhere on prime locations like Hollywood and Vine, near the Grauman's Theater, the Cinerama, the freeways, for crying out loud, the Hollywood Hills. I know there was a Sunset Strip. I know there was a ton, with actual licenses, like the old school Taco Bell frontage and stuff like that. I know they spent a ton of money on that stuff. I know they did. Even if some of them, did some, like, they could, I'm sure they didn't do like a sponsor deal. I'm sure they paid for the licenses for some of that stuff. I know you gotta get the most out of that because you spent all that money on it. And it did not get as many oohs and ahs as you think it did, Quentin. It certainly didn't for me. First time it was like, okay, but all of those shots seemed to last too long. All those shots seemed to be, we got this footage, we gotta use it all, we got this footage, we gotta use it all, we got this footage, we gotta use it all. This could have been a trim 2 hours flat. It did not need to be 2.5 hours. We did not need to, Sharon Tate was promising actress, talented. Shame that she died, especially the way she died, but God damn it, if this movie was not about her, we did not need to spend that much time trying to red herring everybody. Because it didn't make sense that it would be about her when when we were focusing so much of our energy and time with Brad Pitt and DiCaprio. I'm sitting like, what the fuck does Sharon Tate have to do with any of this? Like, okay, he meets with Brad Pitt sees the Manson girl, but it's like, did they intersect at all? Like, do they intersect at all, or is this just some stupid red herring off in the side? And it was really just a stupid red herring off in the side. I'm sorry. So honestly, the bright parts of this movie, DiCaprio, didn't phone it in. DiCaprio was good as per usual. Pitt was good as per usual. I want to say Margot Robbie was good, but Margot Robbie was just there. Margot Robbie was just attractive. Margot Robbie was just set piecing. Really, she was just a set piece. So I can't even really say that Margot Robbie was I mean, she was good in the role that was written and given for her. That was supposed to be this angel. And she looked like an angel. And seemingly acted like a carefree, innocent angel of the 60s. Like, nothing ever bothered her, blah, blah, blah. I don't even think she drank in the movie, like, or smoked weed or anything. Like, she was just pure purity in this movie. And okay, that was the part that was written for her, but it wasn't necessary. So, taking all that into consideration, here we are, a non-spoiler section of the video. Oh man, oh buddy, this is going to be the lowest ranking Tarantino flick I have ever seen. I haven't seen all of his flicks, but this is going to be the lowest ranking one, I gotta say. By a mile, on a scale of $15. Out of my $15, I was ready to go with this. I was like, yes, I'm glad I'm in LA. I get to see this early. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Honestly though, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the Manson kids are good in their performances. Out of my $15, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is worth, $9.50, and I'll tell you why. It honestly, without the factor of Pitt, that final scene, and DiCaprio, sits at $7.50. Nothing special, too fucking long. Some of the editing choices I didn't like. Had some decent part, like, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it certainly wasn't the best. Felt like a waste of, not even a whole waste of 2.5 hours, but it was certainly a waste of at least a half hour to an hour of extraneous shit that we didn't need. And the only reason why I would say trim it down to a cool 2 hours is because you want to make it feature length. But really, you could have done this whole fucking thing in 90 minutes, if that. If they had focused yeah, you know what? The more I talk about it, 9. I don't even want to give it 9.50. I would say 9 out of 15. Sounds about right. DiCaprio, Pitt, and that final scene are the only thing that gives it that extra $1.50. The only thing that makes this movie memorable at all is the Tate correlation, and even then, they do it askew, so it's not even the Tate. It's meh. It's meh. It's not great. It's not a great outing by Tarantino. So yeah, I'm gonna settle on 9 and stop talking about it before I downgrade it even more, because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this movie was a waste of my fucking time. Party People. Did you see it? Have you seen it yet? Are you in a city where you can see it early? What was your perspective of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Did you feel like it wasted your time? You feel like this wasted your time? I don't think it did, because you got to see the moneymaker. You talk about angelic figures in LA. This is what we're talking about. This face should be all over billboards right now. Margot who? What a Robbie? It should be right here. This is it right here. Party people, here's what I need you to do. I need you to click down there in the comment section. Let me know what you think of this movie. Let me know where you think this ranks in Tarantino flicks. My opinion of this movie. How wrong am I? Oh, clickety clack, clickety clack, clickety clack. Tell me how wrong I am. But while you're doing that, you see that up there? You see all these other things up there that allow you to see the moneymaker? Those are lights. In order to keep those on at the party, I'm going to need for you to go down and hit the PayPal link. I'm going to need you to go down, hit the Subscribestar link. I'm going to need you to go down, hit the Patreon link, help keep the lights on at the party. $1 or do you, baby? That's all I need. $1 from each of the party people will help crank out more videos, crank out more content for you, and help keep the lights on at the party. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that everybody else tells you to do, but you already know how to do it. You already know why you're going to do it. Why? Until next time, from Big Sir, real. Cheers. Ooh.
I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice place, with a nice smile on my nice face. Turn your back and I'm making sure my night's straight. And when you're out of town, I'll be making sure your wife's straight.